Just 5 days of quiet in the Middle East. That relative calm is already completely gone. The catalyst happened in Jordan. Iranian forces attempted to kill American service members stationed there, prompting an immediate retaliation. In response, the US and Israel launched an operation called Epic Fury. They systematically wiped out Iran's short-range air defense networks. Epic Fury accomplished its tactical goal, leaving a massive, glaring vulnerability in Iran's armor. But the window to exploit that gap is about to close. According to new intelligence leaked to Reuters, Iran already has a plan to rebuild those exact defenses. Tehran is reportedly preparing to execute a $70 million purchase to acquire 400 shoulder-fired air defense systems. The supplier for those weapons is China. The president now has to make a highly time-sensitive decision to stop those systems from coming online. The problem is, every option sitting on his desk carries severe flaws. We are looking at a rapidly escalating situation. A localized skirmish has turned into a ticking clock involving a global superpower, forcing a high-stakes strategic decision in the war room. The first choice is a kinetic military response, often referred to as Option A. A leaked blueprint drafted by CENTCOM head Admiral Cooper lays out exactly what this would look like. The plan calls for 10 to 14 days of intensive, continuous airstrikes directed strictly at Iran's remaining missile capabilities. But there's a serious logistical catch. U.S. air defense munition stockpiles are dropping dangerously low, falling far below the threshold required to sustain a 2-week campaign. Beyond logistics, strategists argue striking standard targets heavily depletes stockpiles without altering the regime's broader behavior. Option A provides immediate kinetic retaliation, but with stockpiles low and the enemy threat level holding steady, it risks leaving American forces militarily exposed without achieving a specific strategic shift. That leads to Option B, an economic stranglehold championed by military experts like retired Brigadier General John Teichert, aiming to bankrupt the regime directly. To understand how this works, we must look at the shadow economy keeping Iran afloat. This flowchart shows their crude oil exports. Right now, roughly 90% flows to a single buyer, China, who funnels it into small, privately owned teapot refineries. These facilities risk evading U.S. sanctions because they lack significant international financial ties. The U.S. is already pushing back. The military is enforcing a strict naval blockade, actively turning away Chinese tankers and costing Iran an estimated $6 billion a month. Teichert's proposal takes this a massive step further. Option B calls for striking the regime's economic heart directly, targeting the infrastructure of Kharg Island. Destroying Kharg Island or escalating the blockade on tankers might seem safer than targeting troops, but doing so directly threatens Beijing's primary energy supply, creating a very real risk of a superpower clash. The timing of all this creates immense geopolitical pressure. Chinese President Xi Jinping is scheduled to visit the White House on September 24th. Beijing is completely denying the reports of the $70 million arms deal, calling them groundless. That denial provides the U.S. with the diplomatic cover to consider Option C. Option C pulls back from massive bombing campaigns or economic warfare. It proposes a limited, scaled-back military strike, executed specifically to open a window for negotiation. And negotiation is exactly what the public wants. This pie chart illustrates recent AP polling data, showing a staggering 70% of U.S. adults rating a permanent ceasefire with Iran as extremely important. That overwhelming demand for peace sits in stark contrast to the politicians and military leaders who argue Iran cannot be trusted to honor a deal and must be hit harder. Between thinning munition stocks, a proxy economic war with Beijing, and overwhelming public demand for peace, the administration faces a matrix of options where every path carries a significant strategic cost. The choice made in the coming weeks will determine the outcome of this standoff.